Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We hope you're all well rested after the bye week. We've got DMAC over at UC Health Training Center. I guess I need to point this way on the camera. James Marilla hanging out with us too. We're going to have a fun show with breaking news coming out just a little bit ago that Frank Reich from the Indianapolis Colts was fired. They said, no. This standard isn't okay. A team that has indeed beat the Broncos so far this season. So how will this impact if Nathaniel Hackett doesn't get a win this upcoming weekend against the Titans, James?
You know what? Nathaniel Hackett surviving the bye week, I got to think he's going to make it through the season unless there's some sort of just unmitigated disaster, which, hey, we've had plenty of those already through the first 8 games. So that's not as though that's outside the realm of possibilities. But, man, I don't know that this is a sign that he's on a week-to-week basis. But if it's too ugly, I could see him going that way. If it gets to 3-9, 3-10, at some point you got to make a move just to show your fan base that you care and that you're paying attention. But I don't know that I'm connecting these dots that directly.
It does show that it can be done, though. Like, you're allowed to do it. It's not crazy. Listen, I love Frank Reich. I go way back with Frank from my days in covering him in Buffalo when he was a player. And I'm a bit of a sucker for Hard Knocks, so I was into him. But it does go to show you guys, when you put all your faith in an older quarterback who doesn't work out, there is just nowhere else to go. And while we see scoring, it feels like scoring is down in the NFL. Who are the teams that are actually putting up points? And it's teams with younger quarterbacks who can move around. That's what we saw yesterday, at least. And you just brought in a dinosaur, Matt Ryan. I mean, I never understood that move. And I'm going to guess Frank Reich pounded the table for it, and that cost him his job.
Okay, so sorry, James, real quick. One of the comments said, we need a Frank here. And a lot of people are connecting that to maybe an offensive coordinator position with the Broncos. Do we like that, or have we seen the struggles and we're like, we're okay, let's move on, James?
Well, James, go ahead.
They missed the playoffs last year with the most Pro Bowlers in the league. This year, and that was with Carson Wentz. This year, they're even worse with Matt Ryan. I get it. Jonathan Taylor's been hurt a lot, but, man, if Frank Reich is the guy to come in and right the ship, you are in trouble. I want no part of that. That would not get me excited at all.
No, and look at why he just lost his job, okay? And there's no doubt with the time that he had there, things were developed the way he wanted them to be developed. And despite my, good feelings towards Frank, so what? You got to adapt or die in this league. And right now, because of what is coming out of college, which is way more athletic running quarterbacks, you have got to adapt a system to where that's going to work for you. The defenses are so much better now. They are. So it's not like, the Broncos defense is so amazing, which they're really, really good. But look at all the defenses in the National Football League. Look what they're doing. Look at Patrick Mahomes, who threw for 10,000 yards last night, but they only scored 20 points in overtime. There's a way it's the total amount of yards is irrelevant to points. It's about scoring points. I've heard a lot of idiots today talk about how Justin Fields doesn't throw the ball. Who cares? It's about scoring. And by the way, he ran record numbers for running for a regular season quarterback, breaking Michael Vick's. He also threw for 3 touchdowns. You just didn't have to throw him very far when you can get the ball down the field. Guys, this is the NFL, and they went against Tua Tagovailoa. Look how he's blossomed. Look what they're doing in Miami with Coach McDaniel, Smoky Hill High School's own, ball boy for the Broncos. Look what he's doing with that team. And even the New York Jets are hanging in there well enough. They didn't score a lot of points, but they're developing their young guy too. No, to me, guys, it feels like we're in a time warp. We're stuck. And you see Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan, and hey, good for Tom Brady for getting her done. But that was hardly a dynamic performance as well. That's dinosaur football, guys, and you got to adapt or die.
So I know we're in Denver, but let's just pretend we're not. Which fan base should be more concerned? Should it be Brady and the Bucs? Should it be the Packers and Aaron Rodgers? Or should it be here, us in Denver with Russell Wilson?
I think Denver's third on that list. Denver's third on that list, right? I mean, partially because one quarterback, Russell Wilson's 33 years old. The other ones are 45 and 39. Like, Russell Wilson has shown signs this year that he can move around and that he can make plays, and he's converted on 3rd and longs. Like, it hasn't been good enough. First one to admit that. But the signs are there. The other two guys, and I would throw the Rams in with Matthew Stafford as well. Those are three teams that those guys can't move at all and can't make plays. And not only that, but like they got a year, 2 years, however many, like it's a short window. And who they turning the page to? Jordan Love in Green Bay? Like, okay, maybe. But Tampa doesn't have anybody in the wings. The Rams don't have anybody in the wings. Like, Russell Wilson's going to be fine. I think people are getting too upset about it and too panicked about it. I wouldn't put him in the category with those other statues and dinosaurs at this point.
Well, not to be nitpicky, James, but he's actually much closer to 34 than 33, as he's turning 34 in 3 weeks. So he's not 33. He's really no. But you want to say he's not old, and I'm pointing out he's older than you think he is, and he's certainly playing older than you think he is. Now, listen, Rachel, you're talking about levels of suck. So if we're just talking about levels of suck, then I mean, okay, Brady's at the end of his career. Aaron Rodgers probably is too. I don't know why that dude even wants to play football at this point. I don't think there's any doubt Russell Wilson wants to play football. I think that's all he's got going on in his life. He's got the laptop cracked open at the pool. I mean, the kids just want him to throw them in the pool a little bit, and the guy's, I don't know what he's studying. He's working harder. He keeps working. I mean, that guy does not know how to vacation. I could teach Russell Wilson how to vacation and do nothing, by the way. So I get it. This guy doesn't have a life without football. So I know he's going to keep going. But that's not the question. So I guess we win because he'll want to keep playing. And Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are probably, if they're not done, they're darn close to being done. So, okay, we win on that one. But we're in a world of hurt. Like, for example, would you rather have for next week, knowing everything you know for next week, would you rather have Justin Fields or Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson. But I see your point. I'm not anti-Justin
Why?
Fields. I'm not. Because Justin Fields can also have those games where he just looks absolutely clueless. Like, if you're asking me for the next 5 years.
James, real quick. Clueless. In 3 games, his last 3 games, Justin Fields has more points in 3 games than Russell Wilson has all year.
I get it. And look, I'm with you on Justin Fields. They should have taken him instead of Pat Surtain. I'm in your camp. So, we're in the same party here. Let's not argue within our party. But for the short term, for this week, if it was, hey, the future of the franchise is on the line. If they lose, they're moving to San Antonio. Yeah, I'll take Russell Wilson. I will. But I think Justin Fields is going to be a heck of a player. And I still think they made the wrong choice. That doesn't mean that Pat Surtain's not a great player, but this franchise would be in a totally different place had they taken Justin Fields, as they should have.
All right.
Would they have stuck around long enough, though, to let Justin Fields develop, do you think? It just feels
if you don't, Rachel, you're a moronical organization, okay? And I have said this time and time again. This is why Malik Willis will never develop. They'll never give him time. They'll never have the patience. He's a 3rd-round draft pick. That's why being drafted in the 1st round is so important, because the whole organization is in on you. You have time to develop. And these young guys, any quarterback, needs time to develop. Malik Willis, let's hope he plays against the Broncos. I mean, that by a mile is their best chance to win. He was afraid to throw a football in a football game last night. I mean, that was wild to think. And I don't really see a road where Malik Willis develops. I mean, unless he's like some crazy Geno Smith, sort of Tommy Maddox, 9 years into his life, sort of existence. But, it looks absolutely miserable. And teams aren't patient enough if you're not drafted in the 1st round. Teams that make that commitment and allow their guys to develop have by far the best chance to win for the long haul.
Agreed. I just wonder, would the Broncos organization, had they done that, given him the proper time? Because it's not like it's his rookie year this year and everyone's all gung-ho on him, Justin Fields.
Really quick on that, and I'll be very quick. If they took him in the first place, they would have a different philosophical approach to the position. So yes, I think he would have developed because they would be thinking differently. You can't do what they've done and have that approach with Justin Fields. So yes, if they were smart enough to have that philosophical viewpoint in the first place, yes, I do think they would have been smart enough to develop him.
Okay, James.
The only reason I would say no is you got to go back and remember, hey, Vic Fangio was the coach last year. He was coaching for his job, right? Which is why we wound up with Teddy Bridgewater instead of just playing Drew Lock and either, feast or famine. He was a guy that was trying to get to 8-9, 9-8 and save his job. That would have stunted Justin Fields.
But James, see, this is where you're stuck in assuming they would just do everything the same. If you're going to say this is like time machine logic, crystal ball logic. So by the same logic you're using, I could simply say the week after they drafted Justin Fields, they fire Vic Fangio. It means the same thing, because why would you have it? Your point is, why would you have Vic Fangio with Justin Fields? And I agree. So logically, then they would understand that too, and they would move on from Vic Fangio the week after the draft.
Well, okay, but that's unprecedented. When's the last time a coach got fired in May? I mean, the reality is, I'm with you. That would have been the smart thing to do. But the reality is it would have been Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur in the first year of Justin Fields. We've already seen those two and what they'll do to a young quarterback with Drew Lock and stunting him. I just don't think.
But look what the Bears did, James. They had a whole crew with Justin Fields. They blew them all out in the second year. And they got a new coach and a new system. They did it. And, okay, if I keep going down your logic, Vic Fangio would still be terrible because he was. So they would have replaced them. I mean, it would have been all right. Plus, if they drafted Justin Fields, they wouldn't have played him right away like the Bears did. Teddy Bridgewater would have started like 9 or 10 games, and Fields would have come in later. They would have had a much more conservative approach if Fangio was still there.
Yeah, I just think if you look back at who the Bears had, it was Matt Nagy, who, yeah, he got broomed, but he's also a guy that was on the staff in Kansas City, helped develop Patrick Mahomes. Give me Matt Nagy as part of that, even though it didn't turn into very many wins, as opposed to Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur. I mean, they're like coffee for a child. They stunt the growth.
All right. Well, before we have the Broncos press conference at 10:55, which DMAC and James will head out for, we want to get into what we learned last night in Sunday Night Football between the Titans and the Chiefs, because more of a game than I thought it was going to be. So it's interesting. But DMAC, we'll start with yours first. And we learned that defense is way better than we all thought.
I was really surprised. I was impressed, and it was fascinating to see them give up that many yards in passing, although it was 68 attempts by Mahomes. I mean, that's crazy. And for them to really hang in there, and they did. They are a lot more stout than I thought them to be. Now, Kansas City didn't try running the ball. So, okay, maybe that's how you approach it. You really don't have much of a choice. But they were way better than I thought. And I thought Kansas City was going to put 40 on them, and they didn't.
Yeah, true. I was in a family group chat, and we were going over and under how many times Russell Wilson will get sacked next week because
a few.
Yeah, they looked real good. That defensive line looked real good. Okay, James, let's go. Actually, James, I'm gonna go before you because I feel like this can be a good segue into yours. So mine is that we should be hoping to see Malik Willis. Hope that he's the one who's starting, because let me tell you this stat. So Mahomes completed 43 of 68 passes for 446 yards. Malik Willis completed 5 of 16 for 80 yards. The 38 more passes than Tennessee that Kansas City had is the biggest differential between two teams in NFL history. And do you guys know the last time that was in the history books? If you had to take a guess.
Do not know.
2009, when the Patriots beat the Titans 59-0.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that.
That was a blizzard game up in Foxborough.
Yep. Yeah,
wow.
So that's even crazy. So Bronco fans, hope for Malik Willis because he is raw. He is a rookie QB, and he obviously was struggling. But James says it doesn't matter who's at QB because it's just a one-trick pony, right, James?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Tannehill's better than Malik Willis, so I'll give you that. But there's part of the reason Malik Willis struggled so much last night is there's not a lot on that receiving core to help him out, right? Last year it was A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, and now it's, insert random name here. This is an offense. This is a team that wants to just run the ball over and over and over again. And you saw it late in the game when you're one-dimensional and they know you're going to run. It doesn't matter if you have Derrick Henry. They couldn't move the football. They had no shot. So they're going to be better with Ryan Tannehill. I'll admit that. But I still think it's a one-trick pony. It's a pretty easy team to game plan. You got to try and not let Derrick Henry just run wild on you. It's a team that wants to win 17-14. That's what they want to do. So if you can make a couple of big plays, in any of the three phases of the game, you can beat them. That's a team that does not scare me a bit because they're not going to blow the doors off you. They're not. So don't beat yourself. Make a couple of plays. You can get a win in Nashville. I'm convinced of it. I think that Titans team is grossly overrated.
Okay.
I'll roll with you on that, James. I don't think they're all that impressive either. I think it'll be a tight, low-scoring game. And can they contain Derrick Henry?
That's the question.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't even really care that much about that. I mean, you know, if he runs for 150 yards, it's kind of a so what sort of thing. I mean, are they really going to score more than 17 points? Right. I don't know. I'm unconvinced. But we just don't know if the Broncos can score 18 points at this juncture. So, you know, you're right. Likely it comes down very similar to what happened in London. Likely it comes down to basically a one-score game, and can you make that play late in the game or not? And that's how it worked with Kansas City last night in Tennessee. And I mean, unless James and Rachel, it's like, you know, 16-3, and the Broncos just can't do anything. You know, that would be the nightmare, that they just really can't move the ball or get anything going at all. But to think that Tennessee is going to score more than 17 points, I agree. It's unlikely.
The other thing we learned last night is the Chiefs, they're not the same team without Tyreek.
No,
for sure.
For sure.
They got a ton of weapons, and, you know, Hardman and Juju and Travis Kelce, but they just don't have that explosiveness where it's like, man, they're going to have the 75-yard play that just breaks your back, where it's nobody can stick with Tyreek. They're just not the same team. I mean, when I look at the last 9 games from the Broncos schedule, there was 3 to me that, like, okay, I don't think they have much of a shot there. That's the 2 Chiefs games and then going to Baltimore to play the Ravens on December 4th. I think the Chiefs game here, I don't know, just call it a coin flip is fair. They've beaten the Broncos 13 straight times, but I give the Broncos a puncher's chance in that because I just don't think the Chiefs, they're just not what they have been in the past offensively. They just don't. They don't strike me as that team that you're going to blink and all of a sudden you look up and it's, you know, 28-3.
Hey, listen, the Broncos have been in every single game, and I would expect for the last 9 games they will be. But guess what, guys? Every team is in every single game, basically. I mean, that's the NFL this year. Every single team is in every single game. They're low scoring for the most part, and I don't know if people are enjoying that or not. So that's not really that unusual. All you're saying is the Broncos are kind of like everybody else. And maybe that's not so bad if they can turn it around. If they're like everybody else and you can win every game, you know, you just hope for karma's sake some of these go your way. And maybe London was the tipping point.
It's the law of averages, right? Like every game has been a one possession, to some extent, one play game. And they've had the Melvin Gordon scoop and score that changed the Raider game. They had the Montrell Washington fumble that ended the game against the Chargers. Chargers won that game. They can get a single first down in overtime, and they won the game. The Broncos have had more of them go against them than for them. Law of averages tells you if you play 17 one-possession games, you're flipping a coin 17 times. You're going to go 8-9, 9-8. I think the Broncos will have more of them go their way than did in the first half. I just think it's the law of averages.
I think momentum plays a big part in a lot of NFL teams too, which is why I said I didn't love the fact that the bye week came after the London game where they looked like they were actually out there producing and things were starting to click. So can they continue that now after, you know, hanging out in Cabo or going wherever all these players did? Did they come back with a fresh mindset or did they come back with a relaxed mindset? That's going to be my question today, James.
I don't know. We're fixing to find out. Like, we're going to find out how the second half of the season is going to go. In Tennessee. Like, that's the tipping point game. 4-5, hey, you're right back in it in today's NFL. I mean, what D-Mac described is exactly it. All these teams are basically the same. So if you're at 4-5, you're in it. If you're at 3-6, you're pretty much done. So we're going to find out, and we're also going to find out, did they change anything? And now the drastic one would be play calling. I don't think we're going to see that. But if they're 100% status quo, they're foolish. So to me, it should be something like, hey, you know what? We saw in London that if we go up tempo, it works pretty well. So let's work that in every third drive or just something that you're doing different. If they come out and it looks the same in Tennessee, start the clock on Nathaniel Hackett. It's over.
But really, has this Broncos team proven that they're willing to make any of the changes besides Jerry Rosburg? That's the only change we've known this season, D-Mac.
I'll ask about it. We'll see. I mean, they haven't changed anything that we know of. But they are just getting back from vacation here. So, Everybody survived the vacation. So we'll see. I mean, I kind of doubted at this point. I think we would have heard something today. I mean, maybe tomorrow at the latest, but my guess is they're status quo, which is not acceptable, by the way, unless things really turn around going status quo. It's a huge game on Sunday. Again, yes, you're talking about, we're really not talking about the playoffs anymore. We're really talking about seeing development with the team itself. So to me, that's worth paying attention to. I know for fans, it's disappointing for sure, but for me, it's intriguing, and I'm here for it.
Oh, I am too. Okay, so Jake had actually texted me this morning, and he said, could you imagine ... The defensive back for the New York Giants went to Cabo, and he ended up hurting his hand doing ATVing. And could you imagine if Russell Wilson would have came back from Cabo with a hurt hand, anybody? It would be complete panic here in Denver. I literally can't even imagine if that would happen.
Rachel, Clint Barmas injured his shoulder hauling up meat from like a deer he shot on a hunting trip with Todd Helton, and he was carrying it up his stairs and fell down, and he was out. Stuff happens. They did lie about that, by the way, initially, and then we found out the truth later. Listen, I mean, accidents happen. I'm not going to blame guys for going on vacation and going on an ATV tour or going skiing, or I don't roll like that. You know, I don't expect you to be a mummy all wrapped up in, during your bye week. Go have some fun. If we could all get hurt doing anything. So I think that sucks. It's bad luck. But I actually, believe it or not, I would not be critical if Russell Wilson or frankly anybody got hurt while they were on a bye week.
Oh, I would be. If you did it ATVing, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's in your contract. You're not, it's like you can't go skiing. Like you can't do a lot of those things.
Anything can happen, right? But if you put yourself in harm's way, you're kind of asking for it. So if you're doing things that are on this side of the ledger of dangerous, well, then yeah, it's on you. Like, I mean, if he got hurt because he tripped and fell getting off the plane, oh, well, things happen. If you get hurt ATVing, or if he was, I don't know, pick something else that's a little bit risky.
Fighting with monkeys.
If he's an Acapulco doing high dives, like I'd be like, maybe save that for the offseason, Russ. I would definitely be critical of that.
Hey, in a second, you're going to see Mike Kliss behind me, and he's wearing a jacket that he got at a garage sale that has somebody else's name on it. That is one of my favorite stories. I don't know if you can see him or not. He's right behind me there. But that is hysterical that you would find an old baseball jacket from like the 60s. It's got somebody else's name on it, and you bought it and you wear it. And that is one of the reasons I just love Mike Kliss. There you go. He went inside.
I do think there's a change coming because Mike Kliss had some very critical tweets during the week. Like that to me is just setting the stage of something's coming.
Okay.
Tinfoil hat.
Today could be a good day to pay attention to DenverFan.com. James, D-Mac, thank you both so much as you both head off to listen to Nathaniel Hackett and a few players. But speaking of Mike Kliss, he actually had a tweet earlier this morning coming out about how they're trying to get some players back from injury. Randy Gregory will not be returning. However, they're trying to get back Baron Browning, who is dealing with a hip flexor. But it'll be close, Mike says. Now, here's where I have a bit of an issue where it will be close. And we bring in Jake Shapiro. Jake, I want to know from your opinion, do you want some guy, I know it's impossible to be 100% healthy, but would you rather it be like, all right, he's healthy, he's ready to come back, or it will be close? I just don't like the wording on that.
Yeah. The thing is for me is if a guy can't get hurt anymore, I'd rather him be playing. So if he's at 80%, but he's at no risk of further damaging whatever ailment is bothering him, then yeah, run him out there. If he's at 90%, but there's a chance that if, his leg twists this way, he's right back down to 5%, then no, I don't want him playing. But, James just kind of said it. This Tennessee Titans game is going to determine a lot of the Broncos' second half of the season. And they're without Bradley Chubb, obviously. They're probably without Randy Gregory. They need Baron Browning. Baron Browning is their entire basically defense. And, Nick Bonito's been really good against the pass rush, but as we know, the Titans don't really pass the ball, and he's not been good against the run, and they've got Derrick Henry over there. So they need Baron Browning in this game if they have any chance of turning their season around. And it's not like Baron Browning's going to get hurt to the level where he's not going to perform next year. So why not?
No, it's a very much a mismatch when it comes to the Broncos. They've got solid DBs, safeties. They can handle the pass, but the run is where they struggled. And that's where obviously the Titans are really good. So it's interesting. But Jake, you have a different background than you typically do. And that's because you are in San Antonio tonight for the Nuggets game.
Yeah, we're taking coffee break on the road tonight. We're getting a little Nuggets Spurs action. D-Mac saw the home game on Saturday night. I'm in San Antonio for the game tonight. I don't know if you saw that game, Rachel, Saturday night, because we actually had some days off here this weekend here at the Fan. But Bones Highland had a career's worth of highlights just in that game against the Spurs on Saturday night. A couple behind the back passes, like fake outs. He was on SportsCenter's top 10 plays, number 4, which is crazy for college football Saturday that you'd top all the college football action. So I'm excited. Haven't been to a Spurs game before, so going to check out their arena. I've actually been in San Antonio before for the Buffs in 2016 when they went to the Alamo Bowl. So I'm going to go hang out in downtown San Antonio, and we're just enjoying Texas. It's 80 degrees here, so enjoying the warmth. Did you actually get snowboarding this weekend?
I did. I made it up to the mountains. It was actually snowing the whole time we were up there, but there were so many people. We waited in line for 45 minutes to get on one lift, and then we said, "No, we're done for the day." That was kind of it. So it was fun. It was snowing, but I'm happy to have the 65 degrees again back down here in Denver today on this Monday. Again, thanks for hanging out with us here on Coffee Break. But let's continue talking about the Nuggets because they're shooting the highest 3-point percentage ever, Jake, with 42.6% ever.
Yeah,
and through the first 9 games. Let me phrase that. Through the first 9 games.
Like it's not going to continue like that, but if the Nuggets can realistically shoot 38, 39% as a team from 3 around Nikola Jokic, who, by the way, that wrist injury, the only real effect it seems to have on Jokic is it kind of limits his range and kind of stifles him more towards the rim. So if Jokic cannot have to shoot threes and it's more of these guys around him stretching the floor for the Nuggets, that's a huge win. This was the number one issue besides perimeter defense for the Nuggets the last 3 or 4 years. You watch that Golden State Warriors series back from last year, and it would be Nikola Jokic in the post down here, and then 4 Warriors defenders all around him because the Nuggets didn't have reliable enough three-point shooters where the Warriors were respecting him. So giving Jokic that room to operate in the passing lanes as well is creating some beautiful basketball for the Nuggets. However, every time we talk about the Nuggets, it seems like one time it's like, oh my God, they could be a title team. This is awesome. They're breaking records. The next time it's like, what's wrong with them? It's November. It's inconsistent play. And part of this team and part of Jokic not really scoring the ball at as high of a clip is trying to involve his teammates, trying to build that chemistry now so that when they get to March, April, May, hopefully June and July, they are playing at a higher level than they were last year. So I think it's going to continue to be a growing process for the Nuggets. And unlike the Broncos, the Nuggets have afforded themselves that opportunity. And if you look around their conference right now, there are some really weird things going on with the Spurs playing well, the Jazz actually playing well, the Clippers playing terribly. And it's going to allow the Nuggets even more of a runway to experiment, maybe put some guys in the starting 5 that shouldn't be, put some people on the bench, just kind of try some things out.
No, I agree. The Clippers, man, it's shocking. But we did get a comment that said Gordon's dunk percentage is the difference. Let's talk about Aaron Gordon because, oh my goodness, Mr. Consistent, but he has just been so much fun to watch. Right now, I think he's the second best player on this basketball team, Jake.
I think it's Porter. Porter's been really good. He had like 24 and 8 the other night. I think he's averaging like 18 and 7 or something like that. He's been really good. Actually surprisingly good for not playing basketball for a year. But
where does he struggle?
Defensively. And the thing is, though, right before Jamal Murray got hurt with his ACL injury, you could see marketed improvements with Jamal Murray's off-ball defense. And although it was not good, you could see he was efforting. And that's where Porter is right now, is like you can see he's really trying to play defense. He's just not, naturally a defender. And I appreciate that as a fan of the Nuggets. Like, you can see he's like, I should be here. Wasn't there. I'm sorry, coach. And you could see that instead of Malone pulling him from the game, He's like, all right, Michael's actually trying on defense, and that's all I need. So that's really good. And I said this on the fan war room. Michael's probably the second best rebounder, if not the best rebounder on the Nuggets. And having him back has been actually huge on the glass, and that helps the Nuggets defensively, obviously, because it ends possessions earlier. But I'm with you, Rachel. Aaron Gordon, if he's not the second best player on the Nuggets, he's the third. Jamal's still coming back. Aaron is so consistent, so solid, so reliable. He shoots the ball well. He struggled a little bit this season so far. But again, because they have Michael, because they have Jamal, because they have Bruce Brown and KCP shooting the way they are, Aaron Gordon's not one of their better three-point shooters anymore. He can just go dunk the ball. And what Bones Highland does with his creativity, with allowing DeAndre Jordan to be an effective player at this age, it's doing the same with Aaron Gordon. It's allowing Aaron Gordon to play more inside, the ability to create when it's not just, hey, give Jokic the ball and hope for the best.
No, I agree. Nathaniel Hackett will be talking here in a little bit. Jake does a tremendous job of kind of paying attention to everything that's going on the back end. So, Jake, if you do see anything that pops up that's worth noting, please bring it up.
Well, there is one thing, actually. You guys mentioned Frank Reich being fired. Jeff Saturday has been named the interim head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, which is really interesting because he wasn't on the Colts staff. Of course, he's the legendary center for Peyton Manning. Yeah. He's coaching high school football right now. But where the Broncos tie-in comes in here is John Fox is on the Colts' staff. And why would they not pick an intern with experience, very good experience, may I add, in John Fox, rather than Jeff Saturday? Just kind of interesting.
And when did these conversations start happening then? Because it's not like you can, well, maybe you can just call up somebody on a Monday and be like, hey, this is what's happening. What do you feel like doing?
Right. Well,
interesting.
Apparently he was in Indianapolis this weekend, but like, what would the Broncos equivalent to this be? Would it be like, all right, the Broncos have fired Nathaniel Hackett and Mark Schlereth is now the head coach? Like, like what would the Broncos equivalent be to this? It's so weird.
That literally like blows me away. Cause yeah, you would think you would hire somebody who's already on your staff and kind of already knows the day in and day out routine. And maybe would just add a little bit of flair to it, fix some things that they could see. But bringing in somebody who literally wasn't even a part of your staff, and you said coaching high school football?
I'm pretty sure he has no NFL coaching experience. I think he was consulting the team at least, but he was coaching high school football.
Okay, well, yeah, very interesting. A little nugget right there. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate you for that one. But let's listen to Kellen Acosta. So, Jake, you and I, we know this. Media doesn't always ask the smartest questions. You and I have been in this for sure, or your question, it doesn't add up with what you're trying to say. Let's put it that way. And Kellen Acosta, before the MLS Cup this past weekend, he got an interesting question and he handled it very gracefully. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Question. First off, how exciting is it to be in Philly right now? The Phillies are in the World Series, the Eagles are undefeated, and you guys are playing for the MLS Cup. Has it sunk in? And secondly, how does a game like this help you to even be looked at for the upcoming World Cup? Thank you and congratulations.
Yeah, just playing against a Philadelphia team, you're saying?
The excitement right now in Philadelphia, you got the Phillies in the World Series, the Eagles are undefeated, and you guys are playing for the championship as well. Yeah.
I don't play for Philly.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's exciting for them, I guess. So, yeah, exciting for. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I don't like the Eagles. So I know that they're undefeated. So, but shout out to the Eagles, I guess. The Phillies are in the World Series, so congratulations, and yeah, I'm playing against the Union. But yeah, we're here in LA. LA is home, and we're hoping to have a good result on the weekend.
And they did have a good result as they ended up winning the MLS Cup going into PKs. It was 3-3. And then, PKs sent LAFC over to win the Cup. Congratulations to Kellen Acosta, who used to be a former Rapids. I'm very happy for him to be able to get that trophy. But again, it's sometimes you ask a question and you think it through, but you don't think it through, Jake. And you and I, we've both done this. I want to know, what's the dumbest question you've ever asked?
That was the best soccer game I've ever watched, by the way. Shout out Kellen, who, by the way, one of the questions I've asked Kellen in the past has been stupid enough for him to beef with me on Twitter when he was with the Rapids. But shout out Kellen. That was awesome. That was an amazing soccer game. Yeah, I've asked some really dumb questions. And we were kind of talking about this before the show with James and DMAC. And we all came across the line of when you're at training camp and there's just guys there that you really don't know, the fourth string left tackle, and you're trying to ask questions, you're trying to figure out what position they might play. And like, those are when some of the stupider questions come up. And I've had that happen when I was covering college football with the Colorado Buffaloes plenty of times, because there's like 200 people on a college football roster. But with all the context considering, I'm just going to play the clip and I'll explain it afterwards. This is by far the dumbest question I've ever asked. Going into today, and Kyle with the question mark being in the rotation in the second half, what does it say about his mental makeup?
Was that an easy question in the second half?
It sounded maybe like that. I don't know if that's true now, but what does it say about this kid's mental makeup that he was at the Dogs able to go? The Bud Black.
It's the head tilt of what? I mean, it happens all the time. Like, sometimes your brain just almost works too fast.
The context for that, though, Rachel, is so that was 2017 in the summer. Kyle Freeland's rookie year, I think. And
yes.
He was struggling at that point. And I had heard from a source that the Rockies were maybe going to demote him to the bullpen. Mm-hmm. And I have a pretty good back and forth with Bud Black. That's why he's willing to give me crap like that. And of course, he's going to defend his guy. That was after Kyle Freeland threw 8 1/3 no-hit innings at Coors Field.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what?
Yes. So that's why it was the dumbest question I've ever asked.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what was going on in your brain in that moment, or?
Well, I was trying to frame it like, give me like more insight to the mental fortitude of Kyle Freeland, because there was questions around him, maybe being demoted, and he comes out here and he has the best game of his life, like kind of thing. But it just did not come across that way.
Yeah, no, without that context, yes, that definitely adds a little bit to it. I'm trying to think of my dumbest one. I wish I had video, but like, obviously when you cover college athletics too a lot, you don't know who all of the players can be. So I'm sure I have some really stupid ones. I'll have to go back and look. Usually you hide those questions pretty fast when you do ask a stupid one and you get a what just came out of your mouth look. I will say one of the things that came to the top of my mind, I was doing a sit down interview when I worked for the Western Athletic Conference, and I was just trying to like joke with one of the guys before we started rolling or whatever. And I must have offended him. I don't remember what I said, but he went from like laughing and giggling to just like straight silent. And our interview was horrible. I don't even think we could able to like use it. And it was supposed to be like 20 minutes. And I think we got to like 10, and he was like, yeah, I'm done. And I was like, oh my God, like, what did I just do? I was brand new in the industry. I was like so mortified, but yeah, interesting to look back on now. I really need to ask DMAC this question though, because DMAC has given some good questions throughout the day. So I can only imagine there has to be some interesting, unique ones from him.
Yeah. And I mean, we've all been there. Like, I think I'm more closer to DMAC than you, where I will ask a very antagonistic question. And it can ruin your interview, especially when you're hosting a show like DMAC. I asked Anthony Hudson, who is the former Rapids coach, if he thought he deserved to be fired when I was working for the Denver Post. And he actually gave me a good answer, and then he was fired 6 days later. So I nailed that. So I don't feel like that was actually a bad question. But my point is, you ask these antagonistic questions, but what happens if I'm hosting a radio show for 10 more minutes and I'm trying to interview this guy and I just suggested to him that he should be fired? Well, the rest of the interview is not going to go well. And that seems like a situation you were in. But yeah, we've all done it. And I think it makes for, at least if the audience, our coffee break audience is pretty loyal, if they're in on the bit, it makes for some pretty good content because of how awkward and cringeworthy it can be.
Oh, I totally agree. We have we have people that show up every single day and hang out with us in the comments. And honestly, we can't thank you all enough. It means so much for us. We love reading all of your comments. We love you getting involved in it too. We did have a question or a comment that from Mel that came in. Excuse me. It said, what a couple of games for the Avs though. Heck yeah. How about them Colorado Avalanche? I hope they had fun in Finland. I hope they drank or ate a lot of salmon soup. I'm still wanting to try that. But Jake, it feels like they just keep rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah, they've been playing well. And I think there's nothing better for the Avs and the way they've been playing, which has been kind of up and down. And it seems like they've got some issues. Mikko Rantanen goes home and has a hat trick. Like, that's awesome. And the Avs seem to understood the the importance of this trip, it wasn't actually about growing necessarily the Avs profile, because the Avs have a pretty big profile over there, especially with Peter Forsberg being from Sweden and, Gabe Landeskog being from Sweden. It was more about, hey, this is an opportunity for a couple guys who are from Europe to play in front of some fans and friends and family that they just don't get to. And, them bringing in Justus Annunen, look at that, I got the name right, to Finland. I think some of that stuff was just really cool organizationally. And I really love seeing when the organization does right by people that just did right by them by winning a Stanley Cup. So it seems like it was a really good, healthy trip. And hopefully the break on both sides can give the Avalanche a chance to, 1, get healthy, 2, regroup and attack the rest of the first half of the season here. As Will said, if they were 500 by Christmas, it's probably going to be fine. It looks like they're trending a little bit better than that, but they definitely have some issues.
For Mikko Rantanen, that hat trick has to be one of the top moments of his career. I can only imagine, because there's so many people that may never have the opportunity to see you play hockey that were probably in the arena that night, which is so cool. And the atmosphere there, it felt electric. I could feel it watching the game. Like, that's the type of stuff you like to see. With the Broncos in London, James said that they saw like nearly every single team for people wearing different jerseys, but it felt like just there that it really was just like an electric atmosphere for both the Blue Jackets and the Avalanche. But of course, the Avalanche being the Stanley Cup defending champions.
It's like a convention for the league and sport more than it is about the actual game and team itself. I went to, I love music. I'm not the biggest Deadhead in the world, but I like the Dead a lot. And I went to a Grateful Dead concert when I was in college in Boulder, simply because I'm like, hey, how many times in my life am I going to be able to walk to a Grateful Dead concert from my college apartment? And maybe for like Mikko Rantanen's dad, it's like, how many times am I going to be able to drive 20 minutes to see my son play hockey? Like, that's awesome. Like, there's some novelty there. After the game, you get to hit the same ice cream shop that you did when he was a kid, maybe something like that. It's just different.
No, I love that. And speaking of the Colorado Avalanche, we do want to pass along our condolences to the Avalanche family, to the Peter McNabb family, and to Altitude TV as they mourn the loss of Peter McNabb, a legend in Denver media, a huge, fantastic hockey player too. Denver media is like family, so you'll see me almost get a little choked up too. It's just a huge family here. So again, we pass along our condolences to Peter McNabb's family, friends, loved ones, as they mourn the passing of a generational talent. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us on Coffee Break. Spread love today. Give people hugs that you love too, because not every day is guaranteed. And again, just passing along our condolences to Peter McNabb, Altitude TV, the Colorado Avalanche family as well. That's going to do it, though. We see your comments. We appreciate you all hanging out with us every single day. And we'll be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Thanks, everybody.